I'm Sherman Chow. We want to start, though, with that breaking news from Austin's 6th Street shooting that left 1 dead and 13 others wounded. According to an affidavit obtained by our sister station in Austin, that shooting all stemmed from a fight between 2 groups of teenagers. 17-year-old Jeremiah Tabb now facing charges as an adult in the shooting. The other suspect is a juvenile, so his identity has not been released. Documents say that one of the juveniles saw Tabb pull out a gun. Then the group started running, and that is when gunfire started. An unnamed teen says he shot back for his own protection. According to the affidavit, the 2 suspects had fought before. Tabb allegedly shot that juvenile in the leg. That was recently in Killeen. As for the victims in the shooting, police have identified the man killed as 25-year-old Doug Cantor, visiting from New York. Family members of another victim say that she may be permanently paralyzed. All right, to weather now. We had some wild weather last night, storms causing a lot of damage as they pushed through the east side. You're looking at a building off of the East Freeway near 610. Man, that is a mess. Wind knocking in those rolling doors and then peeling off the roof, leading to a partial collapse. And that set off sprinklers, which flooded the building. Then there was a house fire in Sugar Land, and this may have been caused by a lightning strike. A viewer shot the video from the Greatwood neighborhood. This happened just after 10 o'clock last night. The neighbor alerting the family inside when the house was on fire. Luckily, no one was hurt. Firefighters got that blaze under control quickly. What a difference just a few hours can make. Let's take a live look outside. It is kind of hazy over downtown Houston, but it is bright without showers, at least here right now. All right, Addison, let's talk about those storms. Man, this is a big change from last night.
Oh, absolutely so, Sherman. We had those storms move through yesterday afternoon, pretty much during the evening rush time frame, and then they really intensified as we went towards the dinner time hour. You can see all the storm reports that just dotted the landscape right there, pretty much going in from downtown all the way towards the Galveston area, where we have reports of pea-sized to quarter-sized hailstones, as well as wind gusts of roughly about 50 to 60 miles per hour. And at one point, yeah, the sky was very much being lit up left and right, with nearly 500 lightning strikes that were being reported last night around 7:40, especially on the eastern side of town, down towards League City and in towards the Alvin area. We have definitely seen things quiet down since then. Temperatures, they started off nice and pleasant this morning. Actually felt a little bit of a low in humidity, but now we're starting to see that daytime heating going. We have temperatures in the upper 80s to low 90s, but feel like temperatures are in the mid 90s to the low 100s in the Galveston area, sitting at 102 right down that way. So as we go throughout the afternoon hours, we do anticipate seeing those temperatures starting to get higher, and Sherman, feel like temperatures will be into the low 100s for everybody.
Oh boy. All right. Thank you very much, sir. All right, as you just heard, we do have another hot day ahead, and ERCOT continues to ask Texans to conserve power. Recently, Governor Abbott signed a few bills aimed at fixing our power grid, but Aya Reese spoke to our energy expert who says that these bills don't do enough.
The heat is back today, and it's here to stay. With these high temperatures, more people are cranking up the AC. According to ERCOT, an unusual number of power plants are out of service for unplanned repairs, something experts say will continue to happen until they invest in the power grid.
For 8 out of the last 10 years, the generation companies in ERCOT have not earned enough revenues to cover their cost. And so if you do that, you really don't want to reinvest. You don't want to maintain your equipment.
Just last week, Abbott signed Senate Bill 2 and 3. They're supposed to help fix the power problems after February's deadly winter storm that left millions in the freezing dark.
Well, there's really nothing in SB 2 or SB 3 that helps.
Although one section requires generation companies to weatherize their aging equipment, hers says there's no real timeline listed. The laws allow for up to $1 million fine for not weatherizing, but hers says that's not much of an incentive.
Sure, there might be $1 million fine, but if there's a plant that doesn't come online and they get $1 million fine, they might be making billions on the other side of it.
Houston Mayor Sylvester Turner just tweeted about this. He said the bills they did pass didn't add a meaningful power reserve capacity to the grid. He says he expects rolling blackouts this summer. Ana Yeli Ruiz, KHOU 11 News.
And we have a traffic alert to tell you about on I-45 northbound near 610. A big pothole has been damaging cars there. You can see a police car now blocking the hole to keep folks from driving over it. Try to avoid the area if you can. TxDOT has been alerted to the problem. HPD Chief Troy Finner will be holding a law enforcement summit this afternoon to address rising violent crime in Houston. Houston Mayor Turner and state and federal agencies will be joining the effort. Homicides in Houston are up 35% so far this year compared to last, topping 200 victims. Presidents Biden and Putin expected to hold separate press conferences shortly after their high-stakes meeting today in Geneva. This comes at a time when relations between the U.S. and Russia are at a low point.
I think it's always better to make face-to-face.
Among the topics on the table, nuclear arms control, Russian interference in U.S. elections, and cyber attacks. Russian-based hackers are blamed for two recent crippling cyber attacks targeting American businesses. And this afternoon, Governor Greg Abbott expected to announce details of his plan for Texas to build a border wall. Big questions: where will it be built? How much it costs? Who's going to pay for it? Undocumented immigrants arriving at the border are now at their highest levels in 2 decades. And former President Trump says he will return to the border on June 30th and visit with Governor Abbott there. Both men critical of President Biden's rollback of Trump-era policies. Mr. Biden suspended construction of the wall on day 1 of his presidency. Governor Abbott has also signed the bill designed to ban teaching critical race theory in public schools. So some of what's included in that bill: it requires education about slavery, Native American treatment, civil rights, and more. It bans teaching that a person's race makes them, quote, inherently racist or oppressive, or that slavery was the true founding of the United States. Critics fear it will stifle current event discussions, while everyone waits to see how this will translate in the classroom.